Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 228, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today's Thursday, the 12th, January 12th. It is a very rainy day today. It's been super windy. The wind has played largely into how my day has gone. And that's a very sort of long story, but because it has just been so crazy and my life can be strange sometimes. But I'm going to tell you about it, but I'm going to hold on to it and tell you about it in 10% because it is sort of a long story and not all of you are here to hear about the craziness that is my life sometimes. Suffice it to say that it is 20 after 4 in the afternoon. And my goal had been to be back here this morning from the mountain house by 8 o'clock to get this podcast recorded and uploaded well before noon. I did not get home from the mountain house until about a half hour ago. That's all part of the story that I will tell you during 10%. But just, bottom line is my day has not really gone according to plan. And sometimes we have those days. But in line with one of my goals that I told you about last week, I am trying to just let it go because there was nothing I could do about the situation. And so yeah, I'm here now and I'm going to make the most of the rest of my day. But first on the agenda is doing the podcast. Now, a little bit of administrative-ish stuff. Last week when I recorded, I told you, I think I mentioned that I probably wouldn't record until Friday or Saturday. And that was why I said I was going to leave the thread for the Work Your Whips Weigh It tally. The tally thread, I was going to leave that open through today because I figured I wasn't going to record this early. I know this isn't early in the week, but I usually record by Thursday, especially if I'm doing a shop update on Friday or Saturday. I try to get that, I try to get the podcast done at least a couple days beforehand, one day at the very outset. But anyway, I wasn't planning on doing a shop update this week, so it didn't really matter. I figured, no problem. We can leave that thread open through Thursday, and then I can record Friday or Saturday, announce the winner. It'll be great. However, I will actually be doing an update tomorrow. I'll talk a bit more about that, obviously, in the shop update part of the show, the shop news segment at the end. However, some of those new colorways that I did last week, the winter ones, you guys just snapped up super fast, and I've had a lot of requests for them. So I did manage to get a few more of them dyed up. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them dyed up for the shop this week too. And I will have some pre-order spots for other things that I couldn't get dyed up. So again, more about that towards the end of the episode, but that is why I am actually recording today instead of waiting until tomorrow or Saturday. But since I already said that I was leaving the tally thread open through today, I can't announce the winner of that last part of the Work Your Whips Cowl because I'm not going to go back on my word and close that thread early. So here's what I'm going to do about that. I'm going to go ahead, I'll leave that thread open through today as I said I would. Then sometime tomorrow I will go ahead and I will close it and I will determine the winner and verify the winner, and I will post the winner. I will announce the winner in the tally thread. I will also announce the winner in the general Work Your Whips maybe I'll just do it in all of the threads, the Work Your Whips chatter thread and the Work Your Whips, the finished object thread. I'll post the winner in all three places so that hopefully it'll be easy for the winner to find it. So if you are one of the people who are posting your tally, your weigh-in tally, be sure to check one of those three places, hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then sometime over the weekend, but I'm really going to try to do it tomorrow. Be sure to check there, and if I don't hear from the winner by, say, the end of the weekend, I will contact them directly because I don't want to drag this out any longer. The Knitalong's been over now for a couple of weeks, and if I waited until the next time I recorded, which may not be until after I return from Florida, it could almost be February before I would get to announce the winner, and that's just way too long. So I know this isn't usually how I announce winners for things, but this is the best way to work that right now. So that's how we're going to do it. Hopefully that's okay with you guys, because that's how we're doing it. Okay, I think that is all of the administrati part. I will tell you quickly what I'm wearing, because I'm actually wearing something that I've knit. I knit this back in 2010, though. It's quite an old finished object. But this is the Nantucket Red cardigan by Thea Coleman, and I'm going to stand up a little bit, so back up and stand up so you can see it. This is one of my favorite sweaters that I've ever knit. The back has some lace work also. I knit it out of Elspeth Levold's silky wool, and I love this sweater. I have gotten so much wear out of this sweater. I actually haven't worn it a whole lot in the last couple of winters, mainly because it's, you know, the sleeve length is odd. It's not a short sleeve. It's not a 3/4 length sleeve. It's not even a half. I don't know. The sleeves just hit in this odd little place, which are fine. Like if I'm not wearing something long sleeved under it, I like it. But to wear it in the middle of winter, if it's really cold, you almost have to wear something with long sleeves under it. And that not only feels funny, but it also sort of looks funny with this length of sleeve. Plus, it's pretty scoopy, and I've never found a good top to wear underneath it that comes up real high. I really like wearing it with a tank top underneath it, which is what I have on today. Also because it's 63 degrees out today. Yeah, middle of January, and it's 63 degrees. 3 days ago, it was 4 degrees. That's what I woke up to. Today, it is 63. That is winter in southwestern Pennsylvania. But I digress. It was the perfect day to wear this because I could wear a tank top underneath it and just put the sweater on, and it's nice and lightweight, and I just love it. I don't have any clue what the color, name, or number was. I'm almost positive this was the older iteration of silky wool. I think it has changed composition since I knit this, because the last thing I made out of Elspeth Levold's silky wool, which I believe was the what was that cardigan? It's the one that doesn't really have fronts. You guys are probably yelling it to me. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, it's a vertebrae cardigan or something. I don't remember. I knit that out of some Elspeth Levold, and I hated how it fit. It fit really weird, and I wanted to try to snug it up. So I put it, I got it wet, and I threw it in the dryer, and it shrunk like crazy cakes. I have thrown this in the washer and the dryer countless times. It has felted an itty bitty little bit, but it has never shrunk up on me, and it's weird. It's just really, really weird to me that it's the same yarn, but I am pretty sure that the composition at some point changed. I can't prove that, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that's what I'm wearing, and I really like the sweater, and I'm glad that it's 63 degrees today so that I can wear it. I need coffee. This is my iced caramel macchiato with an extra shot that keeps me going some days, and believe me, today I needed it. So anyway, yum. Alrighty, let's talk about current knitting, shall we? Because I do have things that I've worked on this week. And we're going to start with the one that you are seeing in so many places. Okay, actually, you're seeing a couple things, one of which is the Find Your Fade shawl. I haven't gone down there yet. I'm not doing that one yet. I know I'm only kidding myself that eventually I probably will do that shawl. It's beautiful and big and squishy, and I love the idea of it. I can't right now. I just can't. I think my dream, though, would be to make it out of my own yarns, some of my own hand-dyed colorways. So I need to decide on what ones I would want to use. So it's in the back of my brain for some time, but I don't know when. No, the one I'm talking about is the Granny Stripes blanket. So I'm still really enjoying this. I have not been working on it quite as much as I was only because I've had other things that I have been trying to work on a little bit more, but I do work on it a little bit every day, and it still makes me very happy. So here it is. It has grown. I can't remember how big it was last week. Was it like at 10 inches or something maybe? It's a little over 13 inches now. And some people I know on Instagram have been posting how many rows they have. I have not counted my rows. I could do it right now, but you don't want to hear me count. I'll count them next week and tell you what they are. But I would, well, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that's 10 to 20, 30, 40. I would say I have about 50 rows, just as a quick estimate. So that gives you an idea. But I'm also doing mine, I believe, at a smaller gauge than a lot of people are doing theirs. I'm using fingering weight yarn, but I'm only using a D hook. Is that what I told you last week? Yeah, D hook. So it is coming out, I think, a little smaller than some other people's blankets, but it doesn't matter. I really like it. The one thing I had happen with this week, like I told you last, I've just kind of been grabbing random, little minis out of my bag. As I finish one, I grab another one. I'm not really being picky and choosy, but one of the ones I grabbed this past week was a very distinct Christmas red, green, and white yarn, which I thought, okay, that's really pretty stark, but I figured if it's variegated, it's not a big deal. It was not variegated. It had to have been a self-striping yarn because I was getting these big segments of green, then white, then red, then white. That it was so obviously a Christmas yarn, and it was so bright and stuck out so much from the rest of the colors in this blanket. I just couldn't do it. I ripped it out and I wound it up. So I'll use that little mini for something else sometime. But it did not fit into this blanket. And it's funny because there's other ones that are very, very bright, and like this pink and green right here. That was all from the same skein. It was like this pink and green and blue. And it's funny because you can, as I knit, I can definitely tell what minis are self-striping versus variegated ones, because the self-striping, you do get those longer stretches of color in a row as opposed to the variegateds that are a lot more mixed up. And ordinarily it doesn't bother me, but that Christmas one just wasn't happening. So I had to rip that out. I am finding some of the minis, I've gone through and I've used most of the tiny minis that I had, or at least that I have in the bag right now. So a lot of the ones that I have at this point are larger. I have a shirt in this bag. This is what happens when I'm traveling back and forth between two houses. I just throw clothes in strange places, apparently. Anyway, yeah, I have a lot of minis that are not so much minis. They're probably like 20 grams. That's not a super mini. So I think what's going to end up happening, in order for me to not have like 3 consecutive rows of the exact same yarn, is I'm probably only going to use part of it, and then I'll cut it and I'll toss it back in the bag, and I'll come back to it some other point in the blanket. I'm okay with that. I just don't want really huge swaths of the exact same yarn. I would say the largest swath of the largest segment of the same yarn I've had to this point is probably like a full stripe, and then maybe a half a stripe or a third of a stripe. And that's okay. I can do that. But any more than that, and I just feel like I get a little bit bored, actually. That's the fun part about this blanket, is the fact that the yarn is changing so frequently. That makes me very happy. So if I'm knitting with the exact same thing for a long stretch of time, then I start to get bored and I want to do something else. And since it's my blanket and I've decided this year I'm knitting what makes me happy, I'm going to just change the yarns because there are no rules. It is in my lovely Bags by Awesome Granny bag, which is actually outgrowing this bag. I think I'm going to have to move up to like a tote bag or something soon, because I'm having a hard time squishing it in there, especially when my mini bag is full. My mini bag is mostly depleted at this point. I'm going to have to refill it soon. Yeah, anyway, it's going well. I think I've mentioned I'm definitely going to run out of minis before I run out of blanket. And I had this idea, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not ready to do it right now. But I thought, what if, would any of you guys be interested in trading with me because I've got a lot of sock yarn skeins that I just don't know that I'm ever actually going to knit socks out of. So I thought, what if I divided like 10 skeins up into like 10-gram balls, because that would be like 10 skeins out of each skein. And if I did 10 skeins, that would be 10 10-gram balls, 10 sets of 10-gram balls. Does it make sense? So it would be a total of 100 grams. It would be total of a skein. But I could do 10 sets of them. Or maybe I'd do 9 and I'd keep one for myself. So I'd need 9 other people who would be willing to trade 10 10-gram balls. Does that make sense? I don't want to do it as an official swap within the whole entire group, just because I do not have the time or bandwidth, mental bandwidth, to organize that. But if you personally would like to swap with me personally to do something like that, comment in the episode thread and let me know. And if there's enough interest, maybe I will pursue that with you guys off the podcast sometime after I get back from Florida. I can't do it before. So anyway, I just thought I'd toss that out there. I thought that might be a fun way for a lot of us to get some new minis, or at least 9 of us, right? Okay, so that is that project. I also did work on some socks. So I've got my Steel City Stitcher Grinch bag, and I actually have 2 sock projects in here. The first one is the one that I showed you that I'd cast on last week, and it's, oh no, oh my. Oh wait, is that, oh no, I did lose stitches. All of my stitches, crap. Okay, we're going to be very, very gentle and gingerly with this because I have to pick up all those stitches. It's my heel flap stitches that came off. It's okay, I'm not panicking because they're fine. They're all right there. I'm just not going to move it too much. So anyway, I don't remember where I was on this whenever I showed it to you last week. Let me see. Did I say, oh, the hoodwinked staggered? Okay, yeah, I was on the heel flap. I may not have really done a whole lot more since you saw it last, to tell you the truth. So I'm about, I don't know, probably a little over a third, maybe a halfway through the heel flap. And I need to put my stitches back on the needles. Maybe this is the downside to having 2 sock projects in one bag. Crap. Okay. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to sit this over there. But here's my yarn. It is the Flying Kettle yarn. It's her MCN base, and it's in the Hoodwinked colorway, which is absolutely lovely. I love these colors. They do. They just make me so incredibly happy. I love that magenta zigzaggy thing that happened there. It's fabulous. Okay, so that I have to put those stitches back on the needle. But the other sock that's in here, and this was the one that was originally in this bag, is my second Welcome to Whoville sock blank sock. Now, if you remember, and here's the first one. This was my Christmas Eve cast on, and I did finish the first one. You saw that already. I had stolen the needles from that sock project, though, in order to start the Hoodwinked socks. So I think I mentioned last week, I did order more needles. I put an order into the Loopy U, and I ordered 2 more sets of Haya, not the sharps, just regular Haya needles, US ones. They came this week, so I was able to cast on my second Welcome to Whoville sock. Obviously, I have not gotten very far, but at least it is on the needles, and that really, really ups the percentage of I don't know what I'm saying now. It really ups the chances that this will not languish as long as it would if I never cast it on, obviously. That was ridiculous that I even said that because it didn't make sense. It did make sense, but it was like Captain Obvious makes sense. Anyway, it's finally cast on, which means since it's on the needles, I'm more likely to pick it up and actually work on it rather than if I still didn't have it on the needles and I'd be like, oh, I need to cast that on. It's on. It's the twisted rib, though. I'm doing that twisted rib at the top, and that always takes me a little longer because I'm not a huge twisted rib fan. I think the reason I didn't do more on that was because I started that up at the Mountain House, but I didn't have this one with me, so I couldn't remember how many rounds of the twisted rib I did. So I just stopped. It was a good excuse to stop doing twisted rib for a while. But anyway, it's on the needles, so it will be worked on. So that's 2 happy sock projects that I've got going. I actually have an empty pair of US 1 sock needles because like I said, I ordered 2 pair. I'm only using 1. That probably means I'm allowed to cast on another pair of socks, right? Yeah. Maybe I'll cast on another pair for my hubby. He loves hand knit socks, and he is very knitworthy, as we've heard before. So maybe I will cast on another pair of socks for him soon. We'll see. Okay, what else? Oh, the other project that I did put a lot of work into this week, and I'm really getting close to being finished with it, is the Astrid Cowl. Do you remember this? I started this a while back. I think at the beginning of December, maybe. This is the Astrid Cowl pattern by Angela Alves. She's the delusional knitter. She is not the, well, I guess she is delusional knitter, but anyway, she has the delusional knitter podcast, and her patterns are published under Delusional Knitter Designs. So this is how far I am, and actually, according to the chart, which is there's 4 chart columns on the pattern, which I don't want to show you super close up since it's the pattern, but it's 60 rounds. The pattern is 60 rounds. I am in the middle of round 48. So after I'm done with this one, I only have 12 more rounds to go and the bind off, I believe, and then it will be done. And I have the feeling this will probably be my first finished object for 2017. I can't believe that it's already January 12th and I don't have a finished object already. Because usually when the new year hits, I start going to town on like whips that are really close to being done, and I get them off the needle super fast. But that is not the case this year, probably because there's been so many other shenanigans going on. I just haven't had time, and that's okay, but I really would like to get my first finished object for the year under my belt. But anyway, I adore this pattern. I don't know. Well, there. Oh, that's pretty good lighting. If you can see that, it's just the texture of this pattern is gorgeous. There is so much going on with it, but it's not like overwhelming. But can you see all those motifs? Like there's this and this that they pretty much mirror each other, and then this is the center. It's just gorgeous, and I'm so glad that I am using this yarn. This is Madeline Tosh sock. I've never really had much Madeline Tosh in my stash that I've used. I've had it and then I've destashed it. I don't know why, but I love this color. This is the Baltic color, and it's showing the pattern off really, really well. It's beautiful. I can't wait till it's done. I think it's going to block out and be gorgeous. So anyway, again, that is the Astrid Cowl. I am really talking with my hands a lot today. Wow. Woo-hoo. Okay. Macarena. Yeah. Okay. We won't do that. Anyway. Oh, and here's my cute little stitch marker. Here's my snowman. Isn't he adorable? It's by Lindsay. She's Simply Serving on Etsy. I've showed you her stitch markers before. She's the one who did these. I've showed you these before too. These were Gilmore Girls stitch markers that she did, Pop-Tart and the Danish and coffee. I just like looking at these. These are almost like a little piece of artwork, and I've kept them in the box here, and they keep sitting by my desk, and they just make me happy. I really should open it and use it, but I kind of just like looking at them too. So anyway, that's a digression as well. But she does make super cute stitch markers. Okay, so that is that project. So that's all of the knitting, but honestly, I feel like I did a lot of knitting this week on these things, especially on this one, because I didn't have a lot of time, and what time I did have, I put to good use. That's on US 4s, by the way. I didn't say that, but that cowl is on US 4s. Okay, so the other thing I did work on, and I have worked on this every day this year, is my 1 year of stitches project, or my 365 days of stitches project, whichever way you're going to look at it. I've done it every single day. I've not done today's yet, but I have done every day. I don't remember which days were done last time I showed it to you and what things have been added since. This is new. This actually I put beads on. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's see. Well, there we go. I used beads for those flowers. What else have I done? I did that sun. I did the ladybug. This below the ladybug, This was just some random stitching I did, but once it was done, it sort of looked like a whale. Like if you look at him this way, doesn't that kind of look like a whale? Everybody on Instagram sort of agreed with me that he did. So we've got a whale chasing a ladybug. And then these were just sort of random flowery things. This was this gray bit here. So last weekend, we spent a lot of time working in my basement trying to get all of the dust and ick from the drywall project cleaned up. And so we spent an entire day down in the basement cleaning up dust. And so that's what all those little gray and black specks are, or, little things are. The two little yellow things, those represent the two separate times that we had electrical outlets spark and fry on us in the process. My house was wired by drunk monkeys on crack. I've always said that. It's a wonder this house has not burned down around me probably 24 times in the years that I've lived here, because the wiring is hideous. It was just done horribly. I mean, we have found like bare live wires just that go nowhere, but they're live, buried in the insulation in the attic. I mean, weird stuff like that. But anyway, there were two different outlets that as we were using them this week, the wires just melted because like there weren't wire caps on things. It was just ridiculous. And so 2 different times, so that's what those two little yellow things are. So that was sort of like a journal entry. This is my stitching from yesterday though. This little blue and purple stick here with, it looks like 2 eyeballs. That's not what it's going to be. I did not get to finish yesterday's design. I didn't have enough time, so I'm going to work on it a little bit more today. On Instagram, people did guess correctly that it's going to be a dragonfly, although it's probably not going to be a very anatomically correct dragonfly, but it'll be a whimsical dragonfly from my brain, and that's fine. So I'm still having fun with that. I will tell you, my observation of doing the stitching project is that it is teaching me to slow down. You can't stitch quickly. I think I said that last week. I cannot stitch quickly. And I noticed when I first started doing this project, it was like, okay, I have to sit down and I have to do my stitching today. And I would sit down in my chair in the living room and I would basically like perch myself on the edge of it and I would be there and I'd be stitching. And it was like, I looked like I was ready to sprint off the chair any minute. And finally it struck me one day this week. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, just sit back and relax and breathe and take a little bit of time and don't worry about it. Because it's going to take me the same amount of time to do it, whether I'm perched on the edge of the chair all stressed out or if I'm sitting back and relaxing. So I'm trying to take the more meditative approach and just sit back and relax and do the stitching slowly and enjoy it for what it is. It is a slower process than knitting or spinning or anything else I tend to do. So I'm trying to embrace that. It's a lesson for me, that slowing down and taking time. That is definitely a lesson that I'm trying to learn right now. And the stitching is helping. So it's been good. It's turning into a meditative practice for me in a way. So, okay. Spinning. Speaking of spinning, I actually did a little bit of spinning today. Again, once I tell you my story of my day, you'll understand this a little bit more. But I was so stressed and had so much anxiety that I was fighting today because of what was going on, that like I couldn't even just get myself to sit down and knit or even crochet on my blanket. And usually the crocheting on that blanket is very relaxing for me. I couldn't plant my butt on the couch long enough to get any of that done. And I literally had nothing else I could do today. Do you ever have a day where you just think, oh my gosh, I really wish I didn't have anything else to do? No housework, no work, nothing with the kids. And I could just have a full day where I had nothing to do but knit. Wouldn't that be lovely? I mean, I know I have those thoughts. And so today I ended up with a day where I pretty much almost had nothing else to do but knit. And I couldn't because I was so stressed and anxiety ridden over this other stuff that was going on in the background. So at one point I finally said, you know what I need to spin. And so I went in my room up at the well, not my room, the office where my desk is and where I have all my fiber and yarn up at the mountain house. And I grabbed a package of batlings from Knitting Color. And I took my spinning wheel out into the porch room, and I took the bobbin of blue BFL that I'm in the middle of. I took that off the wheel because I'm not enjoying it right now. And like I said last week, I want to knit and spin and do all the crafty things that make me happy. That's not making me happy now. I needed something else. So I put a new bobbin on, and I started spinning these bright orange and pink and gold metallic and yellow batlings. They were so bright and electric. If you know Knitting Color, you know she does those awesome, crazy bright colors. And it was wonderful. I enjoyed it so, so much. There was 4 little batlings in this bag. I got through part of the first one when I had to stop because other things went on. But it was nice. It was like about a half hour of just sitting and relaxing and spinning with something that I enjoyed spinning. So I'm really glad I did that. And hopefully that will get me back into a spinning mode because I've been out of that spinning mode for too long because that stupid blue BFL project that I saddled myself with last year has been hanging over my head. And I just needed to get it off, so it's off now. I'll get back to it someday when I'm feeling it, but I'm not feeling it right now, and I want to enjoy my spinning. Okay, enough of that rant. Okay, the Work Your Whips Cowl, just to repeat, like last week I announced all of the winners except the weigh-in winner, and I've already talked about that. So the only winner that I announced last week that I have not heard from, at least I do not think I heard from you, was the one that I announced for the November cast on itis. That winner. The prize is the shift bag kit that was donated by Angela, who's Ange in the East, a viewer of ours. She graciously donated that. The prize is going to Dub Spinner, who is Hazel from Ireland. So Dub Spinner, Hazel, if you're hearing this week, please PM me and send me your mailing information so that I can pass that on to Angela and she can get your kit to you. I think I've heard from all of the other winners. And actually, Hazel, if you did get in touch with me and I'm just forgetting, please let me know that too, because there's a distinct chance I could have just let that fall through the cracks, and I do apologize if that's the case, but I don't think I heard from you. So anyway, but I do believe that's the only winner I have not heard from. The weigh-in winner, like I said, I will close that thread tomorrow, and I will post the winner in all 3 of the Work Your Whips related threads. And if I do not hear from the winner in a few days, I will contact you directly and get your prize to you, which is the Mini Skein Knits book plus 2 sets of mini skeins from me, from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. So, okay. Ooh, wow. It's like pouring down rain all of a sudden. It's been doing this off and on. Crazy. Okay, how about this year's Knitalong, the A Year in the Life of a Knitter Cowl. I'm enjoying our chatter threads so much. I've been trying to get in there and reply as often as I can. I haven't really posted much of my own stuff, which I guess I could do since obviously I'm not going to get prizes anyway, but I will try to be a little bit more active in that way. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving seeing what you guys are working on. And just to remind you, just because January's yarn recommendation is bulky does not mean you have to be knitting with bulky yarn. It's just a suggestion. Yeah, you can knit with whatever weight of yarn you want. You can be working on whips, you can be working on new projects, whatever. Just this Knitalong, again, like I've said before, it's about the community. That's what I'm really looking for. I want us to be talking to each other and sharing what we're doing, and yeah, that's mainly what this is about. I will be adding some extra elements to this Knitalong as we get through the year. I don't have any extra ones for January right now. January, I just sort of wanted to get into the Knitalong. But in the coming months, I am going to be adding some extra elements to it just so that it keeps it fresh and it's not just an ongoing Knitalong where it's just, you know, here's what I'm doing now. And yeah, there will be some other things going on too. But right now, we're just getting into it for the beginning of the year. So stay tuned. But again, there are threads up. There's the general thread that has all of the guidelines, which is very, very loose. You know, almost anything you are knitting can probably fit into this. So, but this season, this quarter is winter. For January, February, March, the themes are warmth and coziness and home. So anything you're knitting that you can manage to attribute one of those themes to, or winter to, or whatever, however those fit to what you're knitting, it's great. Please show us, talk about it. We'd love to see it. All right, so I think that is everything that I have for 90% this week. I'm pretty sure that's it. Let's go to 10%. So let me tell you about my crazy day, okay? And if you're not interested in this and you'd rather see like the shop news, feel free to jump ahead. It won't hurt my feelings. But this is sort of just a crazy, crazy day. All right, so I was at the Mountain House last night. Okay, first of all, backstory. Like, I'm vending in Florida on the 28th, but we're leaving on the 21st, right? So that means I have to have everything done for the show, all my show prep. I have to have that done before we leave on the 21st. And I have to have like all kinds of special orders and club stuff and everything. I need to have all of that done before I leave on this trip, which no problem. I have it all scheduled out. It should be fine. And then I lost that week over the holidays because of our basement project. Okay, I figured it'd still be fine. I can still get this all done. I had time built in for, you know, contingencies like that. Okay. Then today, like, I've been having very productive days this week, and I needed to have another one today. I knew I was going to record today. I had decided to do that since I'm doing this update. And so I thought, okay, I need to get home here early so that I can get started really early in my day and have the whole day to work before I go back home up to the Mountain House. So my plan was to be here no later than 8 in the morning. I usually get here closer to like 9:30 because I usually have stuff to do up there. But today I was going to get here early. Well, we got up and we had breakfast. And like I said, it's been raining like really hard off and on since yesterday. And then last night it rained and it was super, super windy. And like we were up, I mean, our normal time to get up and have breakfast is around 4 in the morning anyway. We're sitting there having breakfast this morning and it was pouring and it was so blustery. And as we were eating breakfast, I thought to myself, wow, it is really surprising to me that the power hasn't even flickered for as windy as it is. I did not say this out loud because I know better. I know better than to curse us like that. But however, my thoughts must be very powerful because no sooner did Bill leave for work and I took my knitting and my coffee and went out into the porch room. And I was sitting there and the Christmas tree lights were on because I still had the tree up and I had a candle lit and I was happy as a clam. Within a half hour of him leaving, the power went off. And it flashed, like it flashed off and came right back on. Then it flashed off again and stayed off. And both times it made a really loud noise, which I'm still not sure if that was actually a noise from outside or if it was the air compressor in our basement that made that noise. It could have been because I know it runs at odd times. So I don't know. Regardless, I'm suddenly sitting there in the dark. Now, I have not actually lived at the Mountain House all that long, so I don't quite know, like, what do you do up here whenever the lights are, like, the power's off? You know, like, if I'm here at my house, I know where things are, and I know, you know, there's really nothing I have to check on or take care of or anything, but at the Mountain House, I just didn't know because I've never been there when the power's gone off. The one thing I knew was really important was the fish tank. We have a fairly sizable fish tank. I don't know how many gallons it is. I would say it's probably about, it's bigger than 2 feet. I don't know. Maybe it's about 30 inches, like 30 inches long and probably about 18 inches deep, like front to back. And it's probably a good 20 inches, 24 inches, if not maybe a little bit more deep. So that's a lot of water, and we have a lot of fish in this tank. They're cichlids, I don't know a whole lot about fish, but I guess there's different types of cichlids. There's cichlids who tend to be quite aggressive with each other and fight and will eat each other. And then there's other cichlids that are a lot more calm and docile. We have the nice, friendly cichlids. So anyway, but there are a lot of them in there. And some of them are quite sizable, like very big fish. Like he's had them for a long time, but they also breed a lot. And so then we end up with babies. You've heard me talk about the babies we had this summer. So there's a lot of biomass in this tank. There's filters that run all the time, except when we feed them, we turn the filters off so the food doesn't get all in the water and dirty it. But then as soon as they're done eating, like we leave it off about 20 minutes or so to give them time to eat, and we turn it back on. Well, if those filters don't run and circulate fresh air through the tank, after a while, the fish like start to get frantic and they need air. So then they all start surfacing up at the top and gasping for air. If that tank stays off for a significant amount of time, we could actually lose fish. That's always been a concern for him. Like he's had times when the power has gone out at his house while he's been at work and he hasn't been there to be able to take care of the fish. And he has lost fish that way. I don't think he's ever lost an entire tank. And it's always the bigger ones that are at more risk of being lost from, lack of oxygen than the small ones. They can stand out a little, or they can hang out a little bit better, I guess. However, this happened while I was there. So that was actually my first thought. I thought, oh my gosh, what if power doesn't come back on? What am I supposed to do about the fish? So I'm, texting him and I'm telling him what's going on. He's at work already. And I said, the power went out. What do you want me to do? And he's like, well, just monitor the fish for right now. Go in and open the lid of the tank. And I had already done that actually, so that more air could get in. And he's like, just, watch it and hopefully the power will come back on. Okay. So an hour and a half passes. The power is not back on. And he's like, okay, well, how are the fish doing? And I said, well, they look okay. Like they're not panicking. They're just sort of swimming around and everything. Okay. So then, and in the meantime, I had called the power company because here's the other thing. Like I looked outside and it was pitch black. I could see light on either side of us. So it was not a general power outage. Something had happened just to our power, like from the road to our house. I figured it was either a transformer because of that noise. Usually when you hear that loud noise, that can be a transformer. Apparently it ended up that it wasn't, but it was either that or a downed line for us or whatever. So I had called and they called me right back and they're like, okay, well, we'll have somebody come out, but we don't know when. Because like I said, it's been windy and I'm sure there were other outages that they were dealing with. So, okay. And I wanted to say, can you please hurry because we've got a huge tank of fish and I don't want them to die. I didn't say that though, because I'm not really sure that the power company would have cared. But anyway, so fast forward another hour and a half, the power still was not on. And I was starting to freak out because the fish were starting to freak out. They were almost all of them were up at the top of the fish tank gulping for air. So I'm frantically texting him. What do I do? What do I do? The fish are really freaking out. I need to know how to fix this. What can I do? Like I'm picturing like I can't give fish mouth to mouth. That would be horrible. Yeah. So anyway, he starts texting me, here's what you need to do. And he starts giving me this long, he's like, you know what, just call me. So I call him. In the meantime, he hadn't texted me back right away. So I started taking matters into my own hands. And I'd gone up to our attic. Well, it's more of a loft. But anyway, the attic, because we have a smaller fish tank that we'd used sort of like as the nursery tank when we had the baby fishes. And I thought, okay, if I can maybe scoop water out of the tank and put some of the bigger fish in there, maybe that would decrease their stress because they wouldn't be fighting for oxygen as much with the other fish. I don't know. I don't know a lot about fish. So that was my way of thinking. So I was in the middle of doing that when I got his message saying, call me. So I called him and I told him what I thought I would be helpful. He's like, that wouldn't be such a great idea. Don't do that. I'm like, okay. I hadn't taken any fish out yet. I had taken some water out, but that was okay. So he then goes on to tell me that I need to create a supplemental aeration system using what's called an air stone. It's like this little block, and we used it in the nursery tank for a while before we got a whole filter system for that tank. It's just like a little square stone, but it's like almost looks like a pumice stone or something. It's very porous, and it's got a little nozzle adapter on it that you can put hosing onto. So he's telling me, get that stone. He's like, it might be up in the attic. I don't know. I'm like, well, I already went up there and got all that stuff, so I'll look for it. And I did find it. And he's like, explaining to me that I need to go downstairs to the garage and take the hose from our air compressor. We've got this giant air compressor in the garage. It's like as tall as me. It's huge, which is good because it's the tank holds a lot of air. There's usually like about 160 pounds of air in it all the time. It stays pressurized. He's like, take that unreal, like enough hose to get upstairs to the bathroom, because this is a very, very long hose. Be careful of the motorcycles, because it was like an obstacle course. And then he's like telling me what nozzles to look for and how I can possibly attach this nozzle and maybe be able to fit hosing on it. And I'm like, finally, I'm like, you know what? I get the picture. Just let me go and try to do this, because he's telling me this on my cell phone, because the house phones don't work because the power's out. And the only place my cell phone gets reception up there, not well enough to talk on it, is on the front porch. So I can't even be down there looking for the things that he's telling me to look for, because I have to be up on the front porch. So I'm like, just let me go do this. I'll call you if I have a problem. So I'm down in the garage with a lantern, and I'm looking for nozzles and trying not to knock over the big, huge, really, really heavy bike that would be horrible if I would have knocked it over, which is, of course, right next to the air compressor and the hose. And, you know, long story short, which I know it's too late for that, but I did manage to rig up this aeration system. I know it was not at all what he had in mind, but it worked. And that I was so proud of myself for doing this. So I actually got the fish oxygen. I kept a tank of fish alive all day. The air tank, the compressor tank, got down to about 25 pounds of air, though, because I had to keep turning it off. I ran it for a while, and then I'd turn it off to conserve air. But by the time the power came back on, it was getting low, and I thought, oh, this is going to be tight. Please don't die on me now. But this is what I spent my day doing, was running up and down the steps, turning the compressor on and off, and monitoring the fish, and like checking to make sure they were okay. And in the meantime, I'm like having to chase cats out of everywhere, because I had to leave doors open, because this air hose is running through the entire house. And, you know, in the meantime, then I'm also dealing with the power company, who finally showed up at like 11 in the morning. And, you know, they're searching for the problem. It ended up being a tree down on the line, way down in the woods, that I couldn't see. And, oh, it took them quite a while. They had to get more trucks. There was a whole bunch of trucks out there eventually. But anyhow, I saved the fish. That's the moral of the story. That's what I spent my day on. But it was so stressful. And I was like, it was making me so anxious, because I thought, oh my gosh, you know, like, I do not want this tank of fish to die on my watch, you know. And that's why I just couldn't sit down, because I was so afraid that if I sat down and started to knit or started to crochet, I would lose track of time and I would forget to check the fish. And I guess I could have set a timer, but I didn't. And it was just like I could not focus on knitting or even crocheting. I just couldn't. And it was crazy. Plus, it was so quiet. Do you ever notice how quiet it is when the power's out? Like all the ambient noise of things running, like the refrigerator or your computer or whatever, it isn't there. And I was trying to conserve the battery on my phone. I do have a little charger that I use, which actually is excellent that I had that, because I had to use that today. But it was also, I mean, I didn't want to wear it out. So I was trying to not use my phone too much. Plus, like, the Wi-Fi was out, so I didn't really want to be watching YouTube videos or anything, because I'd be using up all our data for our data plan. And so, like, I was just sort of stuck. I couldn't do anything. And I ended up taking the Christmas tree down. I figured, okay, I can at least do something productive. And it was so funny, because I took the tree down and I put everything away. And then there's all, you know, it's an artificial tree, but there was still like those little plasticky needles that fall off. So I thought, oh, I need to run the vacuum cleaner. So I got the vacuum cleaner out and plugged it in. I'm like, why can't I not get this to start? Is there something wrong with the plug? Is there not electricity getting to it? And I'm like, no, you idiot. There is not electricity getting to it, because the power's off. It was that kind of day. Anyway, it was probably going on 3 o'clock before the power finally got back on. So, in addition to all of this going on and me worrying about these fish, I'm thinking I needed to not lose today as a work day. I can't afford to lose today as a work day. I have too much to do. I have 1 week left to get ready for everything that needs to be done before I go away. And I've got way more work than I will ever realistically get done. So I know something's going to go by the wayside, but it was one of those things that, like I talked about, I had to let it go because it was totally outside of my control. Like, my only choices were let the fish here by themselves and let them die, which I couldn't do, or just relax because I can't change this situation. I'm doing everything I can to make this better, and I had to just let it go. So I actually, like, the stress and anxiety, I got to a point where I sort of transcended it, I guess. I got into that phase where you're just sort of in this quiet inner manic state, but you're calm. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like the chaos is swirling around you, but you're like, okay. That's how I was today. I got to that point. It was like being in the eye of the hurricane. That's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, I'm here now. Finally, when the power came back on, I got everything cleaned up and I did my hair. I put makeup on. I got ready to go. And Bill was he's like, oh, well, since you're getting there late, I'll just come to your house tonight. We'll stay there. I'm like, okay. Then, as I'm getting ready to go, I asked him, I'm like, how long should it take before the water comes back on till we get water? He's like, well, you should have water now. No water was coming out of any of the spigots in the house. He's like, well, are you getting like air in the lines or noise? Nothing. He's like, I have to come home tonight and check this out. I'm like, okay. I said, well, why don't you just stay here and you can work on stuff because he has stuff he needs to get done before we go away too. I said, I'm going to be working super late anyway. You can just stay here tonight. I'll stay at my house. We'll reconvene tomorrow. I said, and he was getting like not terse, but his answers were getting short. And I'm like, are you mad or something? He's like, no, I'm not mad. He's like, I'm just concerned because we've got a big problem if we don't have any water. He says, we may have blown the pump. Something might have happened to our well pump, which is a significant issue. So that's what he is now home trying to figure out, and I haven't heard from him, so I don't know. I have no idea if it's related to the power outage, if it's just coincidental. I'm really hoping it's not the pump and it's just something else. I just don't know what it would be. It's not the breaker. I checked the breakers. I don't know. But that has been today. So, yeah. The fact that I'm here at all is, it's a good thing. I've made it this far. But it has been a day. So, anyway, aside from that, other 10%, my basement is coming along. Like I said, we got all but most of the dust. There's always going to be some dust left. But got that cleaned up. Bill completely finished the closet. There's the ceilings in the closet and everything. We only have one more little segment to paint down there, but we have to move more stuff out of that area first. He started putting the ceiling framing up. We're doing drop ceiling. So it's moving along. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about that project. It's definitely coming along. On books, I'm still listening to the Bruce Springsteen Born to Run book. I got to like the point where it was like chapter 23 or 25 or something, and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like halfway through the book. And then I looked and realized there's 80 some chapters in this book. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I totally needed something else to listen to just to break that up. So I downloaded, oh crud, I didn't bring it in here with me. I can't remember. Do I have my phone with me in here? No, I don't. I'll have to tell you what the actual name of it is, but it's from the Great Scholar series on Audible, and it's about the Norsemen, like the Vikings. It was so interesting. I listened to it pretty quickly through. It was like 8 lectures. And then I told Bill about it, and I'm like, I think you'd really like this. So we've been listening to it together, too, at night every once in a while. And it's great to listen to more than once because there's so much information, and it's so interesting. And the professor who's doing it is wonderful to listen to. I would have loved having him in school as a professor. And, when I find out, I remember as I was getting older, in my adult life and everything, I would every once in a while think nobody in high school, like the guidance office, ever told me that I could be like a philologist or, somebody who studies these ancient languages. That would have been crazy awesome. I never heard about that. You heard about, you could be a nurse, you could be a secretary. That's what I heard. Could be a counselor. That's what I went to school for. I would have rather been a philologist, I think. Anyway, it's been very interesting. I'll tell you the actual name of it next week. I've downloaded a couple more classes from this same guy, but I haven't listened to them yet. But I think they're going to be very interesting too. Other than that, I'm just getting ready for this trip, not only with the business stuff, but we're going to spend one night visiting with my oldest son down in North Carolina. And we're going to spend a few days with my mom up in her part of Florida before we go to Disney. And then we're going to come home. And it's just going to be a busy, 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 busy trip. But it's going to be fun. I can't wait. And the weather will be warmer. Although it's 63 today, so that's pretty warm. Anyway, I'm not sure when I'm going to get to record next. I will say that. I hope I can record next week one day before I go away. But if not, please just be patient and I will record as soon as I can after I get back. But hopefully I will get one more recording in. Okay, I do have shop news to tell you about. Like I said, there's going to be an update tomorrow. Do I have everything here? I do. All right, I was going to say I had to pause, but I think I've got enough of everything here that I can show you. Mainly what I wanted to be able to do was give you a little bit more of the winter colorways that I did last week, because they really were well received. Thank you. Thank you for that. I love that when I introduce new colorways and you guys get very excited and they sell really quickly because that tells me I've done something right. So anyway, I do not have any more of Cold Snap dyed up this week, but I am going to put some pre-orders in the shop for that. So if you missed it last week, you can get it with a pre-order hopefully this week. So that will be in the shop as a pre-order. I did dye up some more, okay, where is it? Okay, I didn't bring any of it in, but I did dye up some more of this one. This is Snow Day. Sorry. So this is the 2-stripe white or the undyed stripes, and then the blue speckled stripes that have those little pops of pink. I'm sorry. I know this light is not perfect for this. It's dark right now too. It's not helping. But anyway, this is kind of blowing out. But anyway, it's got those little pops of pink in there for your rosy cheeks. Okay, I've got to get the, oh, there. How about that? That's a little bit better. You can see the pink up here for your rosy cheeks and nose when you're out playing in the snow on a snow day. So I had a lot of requests to dye this up again and put it in the shop. So there will be more of this. There will be some on Bounce. There will be some on Bedazzled. I will probably put up some pre-order spots for this as well. Okay. And I also did some more Flurry, which is the full skeins of just that speckled. So it's mostly, okay, I've got to bring this over here. And this light is just really not helping me today. So it's the all white with the speckles of the blues with the little bits of purple, the pink in one spot. You guys loved this. It went really fast. I was not sure how like a full skein that was mostly white and just some random speckling was going to go, but you really seemed to like it. So yay, I'm glad. Anyway, this week I did 2 skeins of it. I had done it last week on that, that small batch, the Merino Silk Cashmere blend, which I do not have any more of that base. That was the whole point. It was a small batch. But this week I have a couple skeins on Bedazzled, which that's this one. And then I did the other 2 skeins on, this is my, I can't talk, my BFL bamboo base that I don't dye very often. I'm not even sure that I'm going to continue to carry this base. I know, I'm getting rid of bases left and right, but it's a nice base. I love this base. It's a BFL, so it doesn't initially feel quite as soft as merino, but it is very nice, and it's got a lovely drape because of the bamboo, the 20% bamboo. This is my Serenity 2.0 base, by the way. But I only had 2 skeins of it left here in stock, undyed. And I think I'm going to hold off ordering any more for a while. Here, I'm going to take a little moment for an aside. What I want to do, especially because this is a year of transition with the new studio going to be underway, and I am trying to move. I'll be moving things as I go along, and I need to keep my space as organized as I can. And I don't want to have a whole lot of extra stuff that I don't need, that I'm not going to be using immediately. So what I want to do is I want to focus my resources on purchasing the bases that I dye most frequently, which are the ones that you guys really like Bounce, Squish, Bedazzled, you know, those bases, my basic, you know, nice bases that you guys really like. My luxury bases, like the MCN base, my Heavenly base, that I consider like one that you guys like. That one sells pretty well. But some of the other ones, I may just let go for a while. I won't say I'm going to completely discontinue them, but I don't dye them frequently enough to have them sitting around all the time. So this is one of them. So you may not see this base again for a while. So if you like bamboo bases, and this one again, BFL and Bamboo, Serenity 2.0, you might want to grab this up if you like this colorway, because like I said, these were the last 2 that I had on hand. That was a long explanation. Anyway, so that's those. In addition, I realized, because my Time Hop app on my phone reminded me, that last year at this time, I was putting Valentine's Day colorways in the shop. And I was like, oh yeah, Valentine's Day is coming up really soon, about a month away. So I decided I was going to take some Valentine's colorways to the show in Florida with me, and I would dye some up for the shop as well. So I did that. I dyed up both the 2 that were new ones last year, which was Love Bug and Love Bite. I dyed some of those up for the shop. So there will be 2 of each in Bounce and 2 of each in Bedazzled. So this is on Bounce and this is in Bedazzled, but both of these will be in the shop on both bases. So those will be in the shop. And then I wanted to do up what is going to be my new Valentine's Day colorway for this year. Let me get to it. It's sort of a fraternal twin to Snow Day. It is a pink speckled striped, there we go, colorway. It's got a couple different pinks, a magenta, and there's little pops of red. And I love these little pops of red. They're the greatest color mixed in there with that pink. I love this. I love how it knit up. So that is what that will work up to be. And I am calling this Sweetness, because that's what it just looks like. It just looks like sugar coated, candy coated, like sugar, you know, the sugar, the pink sugar that you put on cupcakes and cookies and stuff for Valentine's Day, all those different pink colors. That's what this reminded me of. So I just called it Sweetness. So there will be 2 skeins of Sweetness. Here it is skeined up. That's striping on Bedazzled, and then 2 on Bounce. I don't have them. The Bounce ones aren't skeined up yet, but same colorway on Bounce. So 2 on Bounce, 2 on Bedazzled. And then just like Flurry, which I did, you know, the full skein of the speckle, I did the full skein of the speckle in the pink as well. And I love how this looks. And again, those red pops in there are just, they just make my heart so happy. Can I get you to focus? I don't know. I have not yet decided what I'm going to call the full skeins of the white with the speckles yet. Haven't quite decided, but I just love this. This reminds me of some sort of flower, and I can't think of what kind. I don't think I'll name it for the flower, but that's what the colors sort of remind me of. Anyway, there's 2 skeins of that on Bedazzled and 2 on Bounce as well. So all of that stuff will be in the shop, along with pre-orders for Cold Snap and pre-orders for Snow Day. And I think that's the only pre-orders I'm going to put up this time. So anyway, the update will be tomorrow, the 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And that will definitely be the last shop update that I do before I go away. The next one will be after I get back, and that will include some show leftovers along with other things, probably more of the Valentine's Day colorways. So anyway, all right, that is everything for today. I'm going to stop this and get this processing and hopefully get it uploaded this evening. What a day. But anyway, it's all good, all working out, and I've got lots of work to do tonight, so I'm just going to stay up and be a busy, busy bee, and I think we're going to be ordering pizza for dinner, because that's the kind of day it's been. Alrighty, have a good rest of your day and your week, and if you're going to Vogue Knitting Live this week, have a great time. I'm envious, but someday I will get there. I've never been, but I know a lot of people are going, so have fun. Have a good time socializing and seeing all the yarn. And if you're doing classes, I hope you learned something exciting. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Bye.